can still have lectures next week. Your exams will be in September, early September. That's as from 17th, 16th of August. So you've got the timetable?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so when you're not starting in August, isn't it? You're starting September.
Yes, in September.
Yeah, it should be September. So next week we'll still have lectures. I'm going to have the test on next week on Thursday, no? Yeah, Thursday next week. That would be good. It will be on digestion, no? We mentioned digestion.
Yes.
Oui, madame.
Okay. And then I'll guide you what are the things you have to learn by yourself. Okay, what some of the topics you have to do by yourself. So I think we are still 14.
Madam, will it be MCQs?
For the digestion, yeah, probably MCQs. Yeah, probably MCQs. Shall we wait more or we start? You're only 13 in the class half, no? Yes, thank. We give 5 minutes more and then we start. Okay?
Yes.
Is about energy balance. Energy balance, body composition, that is the amount of fat, proteins, and so on. Energy balance means the amount of energy in and out. So it's about weight, energy balance. Okay? And this picture summarizes what you're talking about. What is the concept of energy balance? When I say that we are in balance regarding energy, it means that whatever we are taking in as energy is the same that we are giving out. Okay, so energy in is equal to energy out. When energy in is equal to energy out, we talk about energy balance. And here we see that we are going to maintain a stable weight. Now, there is another situation where we talk about positive energy balance. Positive energy balance means that we are taking energy, okay, and we give less out. That is, we are retaining the energy in is more than the energy out. This means that you're gaining weight. That is positive energy balance. Negative energy balance means we are taking in more energy than what we are taking in less energy than what we are giving out. That is, energy in is less than energy out. So if I'm taking less energy but I'm giving more energy out, it means therefore that I'm losing weight. So therefore you have this well in your mind. Energy balance means energy in is equal to energy out. Positive energy balance, where energy in is more than energy out, therefore we are gaining weight. And negative energy balance means energy in is less than energy out. Okay, so here we are losing weight. So this is what we have been talking about. Okay. Now, when we're talking about energy in and energy out, the energy in, it depends on the type of energy, the amount that you are taking in at one time. It depends on the timing of our meals. It's related to energy stored in our body. Okay. When we talk about energy out or energy expenditure, we are talking here about metabolism. That is how our food is being used, and therefore how we use the energy it's being lost. Okay. We talk about daily activity because when we talk about energy out, that's expenditure. If we are a very physical person doing lots of physical activities, our energy out will be more than someone who is sitting and not doing lots of exercise, okay, activity. It depends on the exercise type and intensity. If I'm walking, 10 kilometers or if I'm running 10 kilometers, if I'm sprinting or I'm just brisk walking. It also depends on the thermal effect of meals. When we eat, we see that the body has to do some work to digest the food. And in this process, we see that energy is given out. Okay, so this is what you have been talking about. Okay, maybe I pick it up again. Okay, so when you talk about the type of energy, it means the quality of energy intake. Whether we're talking about carbohydrates or we're talking about fats. When we talk about the amount at one time, it's quantity of energy intake. Is it that you are taking free bread at one time? That's energy. Or we are taking it in the morning ones, lunchtime one, tea time ones, okay? Timing of meals, whether we are eating it very early or very late, and the energy stores that we have, the glycogen reserve in our liver and muscles, whether we still have the reserves. Now, this energy, that is the amount of energy that goes inside us, it depends on our intake and how our intake is regulated. One of the main ways is external cues. What does that mean? Okay, external cues means we get a hint that we want to eat, and this hint is external. I give an example. I already had my meal. You already had your meal, your bread, your lunchbox you have brought. You already had it. Your friend didn't have it, so you go to the canteen or you go to a fast food, a food court. You go there. There's so many good foods, nice smell, this atmosphere. So if your friend is eating, you see that you feel like eating too. And you go and buy something or you share with your friend what that person is eating. That is, you didn't need that food because you already had your food, okay? But because of this environment that was there, the smell, the flavor, the sight of food, the people eating around, it triggers like in you the appetite to eat, the desire to eat. It's not a need, right? So appetite is a psychological desire to eat. I already had so many dishes in an open buffet. And the last dish I'm going to have is the dessert. I'm already full. I had the starters, I had the salads, I had the main dish, everything. So it's not that I really need the dessert, but because the dessert is there and we have 5 or 6 types of desserts, we feel that we are going to eat all of these. So it's appetite, it's psychological desire, and it's influenced by our eating environment. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, madam.
Thank you. Then we also have internal factors that control our energy in. Okay, sometimes we have gastrointestinal sensations. We feel that there's a burning sensation in our stomach. We feel the need to eat. Sometimes we have a sense of fullness. We have eaten too much. Someone comes and gives us more. We say, no, thank you very much. I can't eat more. Okay, and we also have certain neurological and hormonal factors. Okay, which are the neuropeptide Y and another hormone, which is the ghrelin and the leptin. These hormones, they in some way control the amount of energy that goes in. We do have also some external factors besides external cue. It's the diet composition, the energy density, the balance of energy sources and forms of energy, the macronutrients. Okay, all this, the diet can easily influence how much we eat. Sometimes we keep on eating. Sometimes we see that we eat very little, so it also depends. Let's say I'm taking a chocolate. I can eat a whole chocolate if I'm hungry. Maybe my hunger will not be satisfied, but I already had too much energy that I needed. Okay, so you see, the diet, the composition of the food, the diet composition. Or if someone gives me, I'm hungry, someone gives me a bowl of salad. Okay, it doesn't have lots of energy. Maybe it's not going to meet the energy needs, but because it's so much rich in dietary fibers, it's bulky. I've eaten it, I feel full even before I've met my energy needs. So you see that we have this diet which can impact on it, and also sensory properties and taste. Let's say I said, okay, you're hungry. Come, children, I give you boiled potatoes and boiled chicken. Okay? You're hungry, you'll eat the amount you want, and boiled potato and boiled chicken. When you feel you're okay, it's okay. But if I say, come, see, there's nice chips and nice fried chicken here with lots of mustard sauce and mayonnaise sauce and so on. See, you'll be tempted to eat a bit more because the taste. Some people, it's really important. So sensory properties, the portion size. Okay, we also are becoming the supersized culture, where, for example, we are now used to eating large size portion sizes. Okay, so we have to be very careful about it. So if we start since very young eating large sizes of portions of food, our stomach also adapt to that, and therefore we see that we get into this habit of eating more and more food. We have the environment and social factors. Okay, we have the hypothalamus, which is at the back of our brain. It controls our intake of food. It makes us feel full, that is satiety. It also can make us feel hungry because of the drop of glucose in our blood. Okay, we also have emotional factors. You know, I'm sure you have heard about it when people sometimes they are stressed. Some people will eat more, some people might not eat at all. Okay, so all this can impact on our energy intake. Stress eating is eating in response to arousal. We are stressed, we eat more, or we don't eat. Cognitive influences such as perception, memories, intellect, and social interactions. Okay, all these can impact on our food intake. So if someone is happy, or someone thinks of a very happy moment, of a very sad moment, all this can impact on how much you are eating. Then the type of food sustaining hunger and satiety. Protein is the most satiating product. That is, if we eat lots, I was giving you the example of chocolate. You can eat a big bar of chocolate. Your stomach will not be full, but you have taken energy maybe for 3 days equivalent. Okay? But protein, when you eat protein, it's quite satiating. Satiating with you, I feel full. Okay, I feel full. I can't take any more. Complex carbohydrates like dietary fibers, they're satiating. High fat foods stimulate and entice people to eat more because they are high fat food. They are tasty. Okay, so that's why people tend to eat more. And this chart summarizes a bit what happens in our body. So we have this thing about the physiological influences. We have an empty stomach. We have gastric contractions, and we have absence of nutrients in the small intestine. So we have the gastrointestinal hormones which are secreted. Okay, then we have endorphins that are secreted, they're triggered by the smell, sight, and taste of food. Therefore, it causes a desire in us to eat. We also have the thought, the sight, the taste, and of food that may influence us to eat. Okay, so we start the meal. We are hungry. We have a meal. We start the meal. Okay, we keep eating. Okay, we keep eating. Here we have other factors that are important. Presence of other social stimulation. You see, when we are in a group, sometimes we tend to eat more than what we would have eaten alone. Okay, because we're talking, we are enjoying ourselves, so we tend to eat more. Okay, and here we also have the cognitive influence, the perception of hunger or awareness of fullness. Okay, if you are still hungry, we'll feel the need to eat more, or if we are aware of fullness, satiety, we'll stop eating. Okay, so favorite foods with special meaning sometimes, this also impacts on us. For example, if I like a food a lot, I go to a restaurant and see that food, I can eat more of that food. The time of the day, we don't have the same appetite the whole day. Abundance of available food, if we have lots of food, we tend to indulge in more food. Okay, so we have started the meal, we are eating, and then we have satiation, which is called satiety, ending the meal. Okay, so what happens? We have what we call post-ingestive influences, that is after the food enters the digestive tract. The food in the stomach triggers stress receptor, that is, we have the stomach. We say the stomach is made up of muscles, and they have blood vessels, and also they have nerve endings in there. So the stomach at first is like that. As we put in food, it goes like that, it expands. But it doesn't expand completely, isn't it? So there's a time when it can stretch to this maximum. So at this time, what happens? All the how do you say, the nerve endings, they are stimulated. And when the nerve endings are stimulated, it sends receptors, messages to the brain. And the brain hypothalamus, sends the message that we are full, and it gives us a feeling of satiety. Okay, and when it gives us this feeling of satiety, what happens is that we are going to stop eating, most probably. Okay, we're going to stop eating. Then we have here it was post-ingestive, that is after eating. Then we have the post-absorptive influences, that is after the nutrients they have been digested, now they have already been absorbed into the blood. What happens? When the nutrients have already been absorbed into the blood, okay, the nutrients in the blood will signal the brain. We have nerves, we have hormones about the availability. So the blood that goes to the brain is now full of glucose, let's say. Okay, so here the body will start using the nutrients, whether they're making new nutrients, they're storing the nutrients. Now, as we're using the nutrients, the level of nutrients go down in the brain, in the blood that goes to the brain. Therefore, as long as there were the nutrients, we're feeling full, but as the nutrient level starts going down, we have satiety, which diminishes. And when satiety diminishes, what happens? We develop the feeling of hunger. Okay, so this is the cycle that goes round. So I mentioned about this hypothalamus in the brain. What it does is that integrate messages about energy intake, expenditure, and storage. We make the difference here between hunger and appetite. Okay, hunger means the need to eat. Our stomach is empty, our blood doesn't have the nutrients, so it's the need to eat, right? Appetite is the desire to eat. This is the difference we make, okay? And you see that the food choices we make, the reasons that we choose to eat are all there, okay? Are we eating because we're hungry? Or are we eating because it's lunchtime? We have been told that we have to eat at lunchtime. Are we eating a certain amount of food because we need that food? Or are we eating because you know that your parents have already always given you like a whole bread or 2 bread for lunch, so you eat because you are used to that? Okay, so there are different factors in there. So the hypothalamus, it's a center for control, to control hunger. Okay, it sends messages about satiety. So we feel hungry, we initiate eating, and also sometimes when the stomach is hungry, we feel this burn in the stomach, heartburn. We have hunger pangs. Now, the body's response to hunger adapts to changes in food intake. We have restrictive food intake. Sometimes we want to control. So we have pangs of hunger. Initially, we feel hungry. Then after some time, we are used to it. Now, if we are doing overeating, what happens is that our stomach capacity increases. And then we tend to eat more all the time. If you are eating high-fat meals, the gastrointestinal tract adapts to this increased demand, okay? Because we are eating also more when we eat high-fat meals. Now, appetite, as I was telling you before, is the desire to eat. Okay, this also can initiate eating. We had just had our lunch, okay? So we moved to the other side of the road, everyone is eating. We're not hungry, but because everyone is eating, we have this desire to eat, we go and buy something to eat. So you see, this appetite also is a learned response triggered by sensors. It is, we can be two people, we have taken our lunch, we go on the other side of the road, we see people are eating, nice smell of food and so on. I feel that, no, I can't eat, I want to eat something, I buy something to eat. My friend has eaten the same thing, is exposed to the same environment, but he is not influenced by the smell, taste, and so on, and doesn't eat. So this is a learned response. Every time we have this desire to eat, we don't have to eat. We can control it, okay? And see, we don't need to be hungry to eat. Someone wanted to join. Did we admit? Yeah. Okay. So very often we are not. We don't eat because we are hungry. We eat because of external and internal cues. I think we have discussed this a lot. I think it's quite clear for you that eating, it's both because of hunger and appetite. So we have talked about this satiety. Okay, when we are full, our brain sends signals to stop eating. Okay, but sometimes we can have mixed signals under stress. Some stress people may eat, others may not eat. We can have negative and positive stressors. Okay, for example, a dessert. Okay, it can be linked to positive or negative stressors. We can also be affected by depression and anxiety. Okay, and all this will impact on our hunger and satiety signals. So to summarize, we have several factors that can affect our energy intake, regulatory factors. We have the digestive organ functions, for example, the size. We have the central nervous system, which tells us about satiety and so on. We have conditions such as anorexia nervosa. Anorexia nervosa means a person stops eating practically, is afraid to eat so as not to gain weight. Okay, we can have a trauma, then an accident. This impacts on our eating behavior. We can have an infection, temperature. When it's cold, sometimes we eat more. Drug effects. Sometimes we are taking certain medicines, and this impact on our appetite. Either we eat more or we don't eat. Metabolic influences. For example, we have the hormones and neurotransmitters, okay, which are secreted in response to food and our hunger and satiety signals. We also have external factors. Okay, our mood also affects us. Stress also affects the way we eat, what we eat, how much we eat. We have external factors that influence appetite. They are the social situation, time of the day, sensory properties of the food, cultural background, environment, and climatic conditions. So that was about energy in. Let's talk about energy out. That is, how do we use that energy that we have taken? Okay. So now this is very important. You have to know this diagram. Okay, we have three major components of energy expenditure or energy out. Okay, we have what we call the basal metabolism or the resting energy. And you see this occupies the maximum of our energy expenditure. When we talk about resting energy, don't think that we are not doing anything. It's not true. What it means here, basal metabolism means like here I'm talking to you. My heart is beating, temperature is being controlled, my glucose level is being controlled. I'm not aware, I'm breathing, using so many muscles and so on. All this requires energy. This is what we call basal metabolism. Okay, so even if I'm sleeping, it doesn't mean that I'm not using energy. Even if I'm sleeping, most of the energy I've consumed is being used at that point in time because my body is responsible for making my all my functions, okay, work. So this occupies a lot, 60 to 75%. And these percentages you have to know for this. Physical activity, okay, physical activity is 15 to 30%, quite broad, okay? And this is depending if I'm sitting, I'm walking, I'm jogging, I'm swimming, I'm dancing, I'm running. So it all depends, okay? Then there is the thermic effect of food. You see it is about 10%. Let's have a look at this. Basal metabolism is defined as the energy expenditure at rest. Okay, and this is the energy that is used to support the basic processes of life: respiration, transpiration, excretion, circulation, all these. Okay. Out, as I was telling you before, it's the energy at rest where we do all the processes that support life. Now, there are some factors that affect the BMR, that is the basal metabolic rate of a person. Okay, I'll give you an example. You take a child, there's a stair in front of you. The child, while playing, can go up and down 10 times without getting tired. As an adult, as an old person, this will be like a COVID, difficult to do. So see why for the child, they have a high BMR, okay? While aging people, they have a lower BMR. So aging slows down the BMR, slows down our energy expenditure. The shape and the size of a person, okay? A person who is lean, mass, they have a higher BMR. The height, the taller person, the higher the BMR. Growth also increases BMR. That is why a child, when they're growing, it increases the BMR. The body composition, someone who is more protein, lean mass, they'll have higher BMR. Sometimes some conditions like stress, like fever, increases the BMR. Environmental temperature, whether it is heat or cold, they can raise the BMR. Okay? Fasting, starvation, it slows down the BMR because we want to preserve the energy, especially during fasting and starvation. Malnutrition will slow the BMR. Hormones, some hormones, the thyroid hormone, which is secreted by the thyroxine gland in the throat, it causes an increase or decrease in the BMR. A high level of thyroid hormone causes an increase in the BMR. Premenstrual hormones can increase BMR. Smoking increases BMR. Caffeine increases BMR, but sleep slows down BMR. So you see that there are several factors that affect the basal metabolic rate. So this is a table that explains it more in detail. Okay? So the first one we say energy expenditure was the basal metabolism. The second one for energy out expenditure is physical activity. And in fact, it is the most variable section, okay, type of energy expenditure, because it depends on us also. It's modifiable. It depends on us. It is voluntary. Whether we walk, we run, we jog, it's voluntary. So you see, even as a walk, run, jog, very variable, changeable. It can therefore be significant either in weight loss, if we increase this physical activity, or it can be significant in weight gain if we decrease the physical activity. Now, to understand that the duration, that is, if I run for 30 minutes, I run for 1 hour, the frequency, I run every day or every week, okay? The type of activity, whether I run, I jog, or I walk, all, and the intensity all influence the energy expenditure. It's quite clear, I think. Okay, you can see that, for example, for physical factors, slightly different for men and women. Okay, you see that when we are sedentary, meaning that we don't do lots of activity, the physical activity factor is 1, low level of activity is 1.11, active walking, okay, it's 1.25, very active, okay, it's 1.48. It's the same when we do streaming and so on, okay? Then the third type of energy expenditure relates to the thermic effect of food. Thermic effect is estimated to be about 10% of the total energy intake. Okay, so if I've taken 2,000 calories, kilocalories, it's about 10% of 2,000, meaning it is 200. Okay, and it involves digestion and absorption. That is the energy that we spend to digest food, to absorb the food, to metabolize the nutrients, the food. Okay, and here again, it depends on the type of meals we are taking and the number of meals. Okay, we also have one which is called the adaptive thermogenesis, and this is adjustment in energy expenditure related to environmental changes. When it's very cold, for example, if you are spending some energy, a bit more energy. Okay, so for example, we're talking about the factors that influence the thermic effect of food. Fat has the least effect on TEF, and protein has the greatest effect. Now, if we are having a composition of a meal where we have all the three macronutrients, protein, carbohydrates, fats together, we have a lower TEF rather than one where we have only protein or carbohydrates separately. Okay, so you can have a look at this. Now, we have been talking about energy expenditure. How do we spend energy? How do we know how much energy we are spending? We have different methods to do it. The first one is called direct calorimetry. Calorie is the unit for energy, so direct calorimetry. Here what we do is we measure the energy expenditure by assessing the heat loss within a metabolic chamber. That is, when we are spending energy, there's heat loss. So you have the person or the animal in a metabolic chamber, and you can measure the heat loss in that chamber, okay? And based on this, we can have calculation where we calculate the energy expenditure. We can also have indirect calorimetry. So here we don't measure the heat loss directly. What we measure is when we are using energy, we have, let's say, a nutrient glucose, it's reacting, this respiration, it's reacting with oxygen, gives carbon dioxide, water, and energy. So here what we're saying, that if a person is spending more energy, he will be spending more oxygen. This is the equation, okay? He'll be spending more oxygen, he'll be producing more carbon dioxide. So indirect calorimetry will measure the amount of oxygen and carbon dioxide that is produced. And then based on this, we can calculate the energy expenditure. This is for the energy out, that is energy expenditure. Now we want to say we have eaten the food. How do we know how much energy in? How much energy that goes in? We have an equipment which is called the bomb calorimeter. Okay, so this is an equipment you can see here. Okay, it's like a container. Okay, it prevents heat from escaping. It's very airtight. It contains water. Okay, and here we have a chamber. Okay, in which the food is burned. We introduce the food is burned. Okay, when the food is burned, there's a rise in temperature, and this rise in temperature is recorded by the water. There's going to be a change in the temperature of water. So the thermometer will measure the change in the temperature of the water. If a food produces little energy, the temperature in the water will rise very low rise, no? But if, for example, the food produces high level of energy, the temperature rise will be significant. So therefore, we do certain calculations and we can calculate what is the energy value of the food. Now then we have what we call physiological fuel values. For example, if I burn a food, I burn meat, everything will be burnt, it become ash. But in our body, food is not burned in the same way. Because, for example, I eat protein, the protein is not burned completely to energy like this. There's part of it that is the nitrogenous part, that is the NH2 group, that is removed, okay? So we see that it's not exactly, the bomb calorimeter doesn't give the exact value, exact thing that's happening in the body. And there was a scientist known as Atwater. He did several experiments, and he came with these values. For example, it says, if there's 1 gram of carbohydrate, it will give us 4 kilocalories of energy. 1 gram of protein, 4 kilocalories. 1 gram of fat, 9 kilocalories. Alcohol, 7 kilocalories. These are what we call the Atwater factors. And these are values you have to know, because I can give you a calculation and you have to know this. I think we did it in the first lecture itself.
Oui, madam.
Yeah, thank you. Now, I'm introducing you to something different. One is when you talk energy in, energy out, you have to talk about energy gain, we have to talk about energy loss. Okay? Weight gain and weight loss. And this impacts on therefore, the body weight. Okay? Now, the body weight, let's say I say I'm 60 kg. 60 kg of what? Water, proteins, fat, bones. Someone else with 60 kg may look very different from me. Okay? If that person is tall or that person is very short, but 60 kg, the composition may be different. Okay? So we are going to see what is therefore a healthy body weight. If I ask you, are you at the appropriate body weight? How do you determine it? Okay? So before we go to this, I'll just bring this element that, in our lives, in our society, we have so many values, societal values, okay? Let's say in European countries, you have, when you are slim, this is very important, very, very slim. You go in the African countries, a lady who is very plump is much, I won't say better, is more appreciated than someone who is very slim. Okay, so therefore we see that there are societal values and that change over time. Okay, so there is that thing about perceived body image. That's one aspect. It's linked to fashion and people. The second one is linked to health. Good health supersedes appearance. Okay, so if I'm fat, it's not good. It may be meaning other things. If I'm too thin also, if it causes a health problem, this is not good. Okay, so what is therefore body composition that we are talking about? Body composition, we are talking about the ratio of fat, lean body mass. Lean body mass means the muscles, the bones, and the organs. Okay, and this body composition, the ratio of fat tissue to lean body mass is usually expressed as percentage body fat. And this percentage body fat is important for measuring health risk, okay, which is associated with too much body fat. And if I ask you, what is your body composition? If I ask myself, what is my body composition? Just by looking at myself, by touching myself, I won't be able to make out. But I know my weight is made up of water, in majority, made of fats, it's made up of lean tissue, it's made up of bones. Okay? So how do we estimate a healthy body weight? There is a parameter that we use, it is called the body mass index. Uh-oh. Would you please switch off your microphone? Now, this body mass index, it is a useful indicator of healthy weight for most people. Body mass index, the abbreviation is BMI. You have to know this abbreviation. And it calculates body weight in relation to height of the body. That is how much I weigh and what is my height. So this is also something that you have to know the equation. I can give you a question where I just put BMI. I won't put body mass index. I'm telling you these things because sometimes students take it for granted. So I'm telling you these things. You should know what is BMI. You should know the equation for the BMI. How do you calculate the BMI? It's very simple. And be careful here. I don't do it méchamment, mais juste pour vous faire, just to make you realize the importance of small details. You see, the weight is in kilogram. The height is in meter. Okay, is that well noted? BMI is weight in kilogram divided by height in meters to the square. Okay, you can calculate it if you want. You can calculate yours, as you know where you are. Now, sometimes in questions, I can give the height of a person who was like 135 centimeter. So you're not going to put 50 divided by 135 to the square. It's going to be 1.3 to the square. No? Because it is in meter. You get it well?
Yes, ma'am. Oui, madam.
Very bien. We have definitions for healthy weight. This also you should know. What is a healthy weight? BMI for healthy weight. What is the BMI for an overweight and BMI for an obese? Healthy weight, usually we talk about the BMI. These are the WHO guidelines of 18.5 to 24.9. Overweight is when we start from 25 to 29.9, and above 30 and above it is obese. Now the obese is classified into different ways, but we stop here with obese. Okay. Now obese individuals, they have a 50 to 100% higher risk of dying prematurely than those that have a healthy weight. So you see the importance of keeping a healthy weight. The same thing we put it here. Okay. So you can calculate what is your BMI, yeah? And you can decide therefore where you are healthy, underweight, overweight, obese, and so on. It's the same thing. But BMI may not be accurate for everyone. Remember I was telling you something? Because here, when we talk about the weight, it doesn't tell us whether this weight is fat or proteins. Okay? Let's take an athlete. His BMI may be more than 25. Have a low percentage of body weight. So what we'll say, the athlete is not healthy. So we have to make this difference between certain people. Okay? So it also happens for all people or people who are sick, who have not been using their muscles a lot, not walking, not working, not walking. Okay, so what happens here? There is loss of the muscle mass, that is the muscles, they degrade. Okay, but when we look at the BMI, it might still be in the healthy range. Okay, individuals who are less than 5 feet in height may have a high BMI, but because they are you're using height, so they might have a high BMI, but not necessarily that they are unhealthy. So you see, this is the limitation of BMI because it doesn't take into consideration the composition of the body. Okay? For example, this is the Mr. Universe of 1997. His height is 6 feet 3 inches. Weight is 245 kg. The BMI is 31. What would you say? Is it too fat? No, it's not fat. Look at his body. All these are muscles. No fat at all. So you see, it doesn't apply for him. Okay? Look at this lady. Okay? Here, BMI of 19. Okay? Is that too much? Is that too little? I don't think so. Okay? It looks that the body is healthy. Interestingly, there was that thing, Miss America. People were doing it as early as 1944. There, the BMI was accepted, like 22 was normal and so on. And you see, as time progressed, people started like, you know, the BMI going on. That is, looking at people who are very, very, very slim. There was at one point in time, for example, for the major radio stations, worldwide television stations, they used to have like models to come and give commentaries, to give the news, for the image. And many young people were trying to be like them because they thought that these are models, these are ideas you have to follow. And this was causing a problem. So you see that again here, now when you look at programs, you see that you have all types of people, very slim, slightly overweight, everything. And you see here again, now the BMI is going a bit higher. It's not on the lower side. It was like very low in some cases, but you see that we are going higher. What are the health risks associated with body weight and body composition? Being underweight is not good. Underweight, it can be a sign of symptomatic malnutrition, substance abuse, or diseases. We have high risk of anemia, osteoporosis, bone fractures, heart irregularities, and amenorrhea. That is, girls, they don't regularly get the periods. This can be correlated with depression and anxiety, inability to fight infection, trouble regulating body temperature, decreased muscle strength, and risk of premature death. And this sometimes be intentional. We don't want to put on weight. Sometimes it can be unintentional. Okay, it can be due to malabsorption associated to certain diseases like cancer, inflammatory bowel disease, or celiac diseases. But you also have health risk associated with being overweight, which is in fact more important. Being overweight and obese, it is associated with increased risk of heart disease, hypertension, stroke, hyperlipidemia, gallstones, sleep apnea, and reproductive problems. Okay, it also increases the risk of certain cancers, including the colon cancer, colon with here, large intestine, breast cancer, endometrial. Endometrial means it's the endometrium, that is, it's in the reproductive system of the woman. Gallbladder cancer, that is gallbladder, it is found in the liver, it stores the bile. And what is interesting to know is that more than 80% of type 2 diabetes people, they were overweight. And if a person has central obesity, that is in front of the belly, is big, they have metabolic syndrome, that is, they can have diabetes, hypertension, and so on. So you can see body mass index too high, not good, too low, not good. Okay, it increases the risk of mortality. Now remember, we're talking about body fat, body composition. We talk about body fat. This is very important. You have to understand it very well. What are the types of fat we have? Some people will need less body fat. Some people will need more body fat. Okay? And where is this fat distributed? Okay, if you look at the amount of fat, The healthy man is this blue one. Okay, so the healthy man is about 16% fat, out of which about 4% is essential. In the woman, the essential is about 12% or 11%, and in the healthy woman, it's about 6 or 7% fat. So you see, gender itself makes it different, especially for fats. But we also have some differences in muscles, very little in bones. It's muscles and fats. Now, where are the fats? What are the fats? I'll explain to you well. We have what you call the visceral fat. Okay, so you can see the visceral fat. It's in the abdomen. Okay. Okay, we start with this one. Subcutaneous fat is just below the skin. Subcutaneous. Cutaneous means skin. Subcutaneous below the skin. After this, then we have the abdominal fat, and then we have the visceral fats, which are found between the intestines. They are found between the muscles. Okay. Now, in fact, most of the body fat is stored in what we call the adipose tissue. That adipose tissue is a special tissue which is made up of only body fats or fat cells. Okay, we have two types of fats: the essential fat. You have to know about this. This stored fat. Essential fat, they are found in the bone marrow, the heart, the lungs, the liver, the skin, that is in the major organs. Okay. And we have seen that women, they have 4 times more essential fat than men. Then we have stored fat. Stored fat is always stored in the adipose tissue and also in the subcutaneous fat. We have seen it under the skin, and visceral fat, that is around the organs in the abdominal area. We have essential fat and stored fat. Now, remember we mentioned this term about negative energy balance. We say that the person is taking 100 kilocalories of energy, okay, but it's giving out 1,000. It's taking 1,000 kilocalories of energy. It's giving out, let's say, 1,500 kilocalories of energy. You see, it's taking that much, but giving that much. What is happening? The fatty acids are released from adipose cells. That is, this is from the storage of fats. Okay, and these are the tissues as well. The fat cells. The more fat we give, the increase in size they grow. We are all here, isn't it? Yeah. So the tissue is another type of fat made up of specialized fat cells. It contains more mitochondria. Mitochondria are cells where there's respiration that takes place. That is, glucose reacts with oxygen to give energy. This is respiration. And their function, this brown adipose tissue, is to generate heat. And in the human, it's found in the infants. Infants, c'est-à-dire 0 to 1 year is infants. Okay, it's found in the infants because the child has to keep heat. Okay, it's also found in animals that hibernate. Yeah, some animals may hibernate for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. So it is this fat tissue, it's found in large amounts, the brown adipose tissue, which generate the heat to keep them warm. Okay. So if you have a look at the brown adipocyte, means fat cell. We have the white fat cell and the brown fat cell. We have mostly the white fat cell adipocyte. Okay. But in infants, we have brown, but as we grow up, we lose them. So you see here, this is the triglyceride. Look, the size of the fat. This is the nucleus and only 2 mitochondria. This is where respiration takes place. Okay? Look at the brown adipocyte. Look at the fat cells, very little compared to here. And look at the number of mitochondria. Therefore, this is very active in generating heat. Okay? This is the brown adipocyte, and this is the white adipocyte. This is also something that you should know. Huh? Where is our fat distributed? We have intra-abdominal fat, that is the fats around our organs in the abdomen. Okay. We have central obesity, that is the upper body fat. Okay. And the central obesity is excess fat around the trunk of the body. Okay, it's called abdominal fat or upper body fat. And this fat is associated with increased risk of diseases. Then we have the visceral abdominal fat. You saw it in that picture there. It's around the waist. And this one also is quite dangerous. We can develop health problems, mainly if we have them around the abdominal. The visceral fat is more likely to give us health problems compared to fats that are found in the hips or in the thighs, the jambs, okay? Even if the BMI is normal. Here we put it more clearly. Storing excess fat around the waist versus the hips, compared to the hips and thighs, increases risk of heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension. So if we have excess fat around the waist, we are at a higher risk of heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension. Then we have central obesity. Okay, central obesity. We talk about android obesity. Here it is storing too much visceral fat in the abdomen. The fat releases fatty acids which travel to the liver. It can cause insulin resistance, that is, it can increase the risk of diabetes, increase low density lipoproteins, okay, that is the bad cholesterol, decreased HDL, that is high density lipoproteins, that is the good cholesterol, and it can cause total increase in cholesterol level. Okay? This is the android obesity, central obesity near the belly. Gynoid obesity from excess fats around the thighs and the buttocks. Women usually they are gynoid. Men are more android. Okay, so you can see it here. See the body fat distribution, gynoid. Okay, look at this. It's like a pear. No, the form here. Excess fats in the hips. Now, hips in the thighs. Android, a bit like the apple. Excess fat is around the abdomen. And this is measured by the waist circumference. Okay, showing you the apple and the pear shape. I've seen this before. Okay, so for example, in this case, the person, he has very little of this subcutaneous fat, very little of visceral fats, and even in between here, we have less fat. You see here in the back also, we have less fat. Okay. So waist management, the waist circumference. The waist circumference is very important. We don't look only at the BMI, but also at the waist circumference. So it's very simple to do it. We place a tape measure around the bare abdomen, just above the hip bone. Okay? The tape is snug. It's not very tight, no loose, just around the body. Okay? And we measure the number of centimeters. Okay? Women with a waist measurement of who have a waist measurement of more than 35 inches, and men with a waist measurement of more than 40 inches, they are at risk for diseases. Okay, so when we are talking about inches, okay, to centimeters, for the woman, most probably it's going to be so we are talking about 35 Usually here, I see it is 88.9 centimeter. And for men, I'm just checking something during the conversion, 701. So I just see what we have put down there because there are certain limits. Okay, yeah, here it is. Okay, so waist circumference. If it is greater than 35 inch, that is 8.9 centimeter in women, and 40 inches in men, it is associated with increased health risk, even if the BMI is normal. Okay, and I think in Mauritius they have put it down to 80. This means I think I think it's from Mauritius. But there you can see these are international. That is the waist measurement. If it is more than 88 for women, okay, it's not good, and more than 102 for men, it's not good. Okay, it's at increased risk, and this is combined with the BMI. So if BMI is higher and the waist circumference also is higher, so we are at more risk of developing health diseases. I just put this here again. I'm under the impression I saw okay. I got the report 2015. Just it's good to check, you know, because sometimes there are differences. Okay, in the meantime, we can continue by the time it's loading. Even for now, for the body fat, we were talking about body fat, okay? We have just to show you this, I just quickly Googled this. This is the NCD survey for Mauritius 2015. It's the latest study done by the Ministry of Health. And I don't know if I can increase the size. Yes, I can increase. So you see, in my previous lecture notes, it was 88. Depending on which cut points you are using. For European African cut points, we talk about greater than 88 centimeters for women and greater than 102 centimeters for men. Okay, and for Asian cut points, it's greater than 90. Okay, for men and greater than 80 for women. Okay, so it depends on the origin. And this is a very interesting report. I advise you all to go through. It's called the NCD reports. Okay, NCD, Non-Communicable Diseases Survey 2015. You get it on the website of the Ministry of Health also. It gives you all the values, for example, the prevalence of diseases, you see, for yeah, you see for diabetes, for example, prevalence of diseases we have for obesity also. It gives all this hypertension, all this data are there. Okay. Oh, where is my slide? Can't see it now. Is it this one? D'accord. This one, no. Okay. So therefore, you have seen the waist is not only the BMI, but also the waist circumferences. Both we use together to determine the health risk. And we're talking about how do we measure body fat and distribution. We have different techniques. Okay, we have the fat fall measures. Fat fall measures means, for example, where fats are usually accumulated. We have it here. We also have it at the back here, above our the back, upper part of the back. Okay, we can have it on the hips also. These are the places where we measure the fat fall. That is the amount of fat. Okay, we use a caliper to do it, and then we have equations that we can use. We have another one which is called hydrodensitometry and bioelectrical impedance. Okay, so fat fall measures. You see, you have the caliper. We measure the amount of fat with this. We have densitometry is what basically you immerse a person in water, you see how much water has been displaced, and then you use a formula to calculate the amount of fat. We can also have another technique. Okay, we have sensors which is being placed around the person's body. Okay, plethysmography, and this will give us an indication about the fat. Or we can also have X-ray absorptiometry, which is the DEXA. This also can give us an indication about the body fat in our body. Okay. We also have the bioelectrical impedance, and here we use low intensity electrical current, and this will be enable us to assess the body fat. Usually, I won't assess on the methods of fat determination. Body fat determination. Now we are seeing health risks associated with body weight and body fat. Okay, it can be if you have underweight, we have menstrual irregularities, infertility, pregnancy problems, osteoporosis, bone fractures, and we also have diseases which are associated with excess of fat, diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, sleep apnea, that is we don't sleep properly, osteoarthritis, that is an inflammation of the bones, some types of cancers, we can have gallbladder disease, kidney disease, respiratory problems. We can also have certain complications in pregnancy and surgery. Okay, so I think this we know already. This we have done, this is summary. Then there's something about eating disorders. Okay, we put it here because we do have certain conditions. We talk about anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, binge eating disorders. Okay, these are the causes can be a combination of sociocultural, psychological, and perhaps also neurochemical factors. Okay, and athletes are among the most likely group to develop eating disorders. We have what we call the female athlete triad, where we have disordered eating habits, and it is the desire to improve performance, okay, and sometimes to try to meet unstable weight standards. So this is a quick review. Then bulimia is what, I think I didn't mention it there. Bulimia is what, that is a person feels guilty about eating. So when they stress or they have a complex about the body weight problems, what they do is they go and hide somewhere, they eat a lot, and then they put their hands in the mouth to vomit the food, okay? Because they feel guilty that they have eaten a lot. So these are very much psychological problems, okay? Binge eating means also you eat without any control. That's it for energy balance, an interesting topic. I hope you found it interesting, important topics also, and I've already pointed out some of the things you have to remember. For example, the BMI classification, how to calculate the BMI, you know, the energy values of the foods, you know how to, about the fats, also the types of fats, where they're distributed and so on. Good, any questions?
C'est bon, madame.
Bon, I'm surprised, even if I'm doing the lecture so late, we have only 13 participants in the class. Anyway, so tomorrow we'll meet again, but tomorrow we'll meet earlier, okay? Like we used to do. Can we do it at quarter to 5, I think? No, we had put it. Can we start it at quarter to 5 tomorrow? Because it's
Yes,
quite late today. I really appreciate your patience. Can we start it at quarter to 5? Tomorrow I'm going to do on allergies and hypersensitivity. Okay? Good?
Yes. Good, madam.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Bonne
Bye.
soirée.
Merci.